Alright, so I wasn't really sure if I was gonna post anything in relation to the military and all that. While being that I'm new, I just really got in. I ain't even really deep into my unit yet. But with what's going on as far as like me, just like some hiccups here and there with finances and stuff like that, I figured it only makes sense for me to talk about it. So I'm gonna talk about it. So if you are a single parent overall, but if you are a dad who has a child, you are not married, but you are a dad who has a child, and they are listed as your dependent, before you enlist into the military, make sure you have them enrolled or enlisted in DEERS as your dependent. I don't care what your recruiter say. I don't care what if you know some military friends and family that's currently in, or some people that might be veterans or whatever. I don't care what none of them say, right? Make sure you have them listed as a dependent before you go in. Go through whatever you need to go through legally, any of that. Get that paperwork done so that when you enlist in the military and you actually go through the process, your child is already listed as a dependent for you. Reason being is because once it's done, you can then begin to receive BAH, which is a basic allowance for housing and even for food, basically, right? But you'll start to receive that pretty much from day one. Check one, maybe check two, and if it's check two, they still gonna back pay you. But if the paperwork's already done beforehand, before you even completed, while you are also enlisting and turning in your first enlistment contract with your recruiter, you're gonna get your money up front. I was told by my recruiter, hey, go ahead and do what you need to do now, enlist, we'll get you in, and then when you get to your duty station, you can add your child on as a dependent and then start getting your benefits for your child at that point, right? At that time, in that very moment, I was like, all right, bet, like, cool. But as soon as I got a month in and I started realizing that married folks and or people with dependents were already receiving their BAH, I'm like, oh, he fucked me. Like I'm missing out on money, which of course is also money for me to help to send back home to my child, right? So first and foremost, if you're thinking about going in, you're thinking about enlisting, don't let your recruiter or nobody else shit you and say, oh, it's gonna take too long, all that to get it done. Just enlist first and fix it. Damn all that. Get it done first while you are enlisting and while you are doing all the initial stuff to go in, because once you get into your reception battalion at your first unit before you start basic, it's gonna be like step 2 to all that. They're gonna get all your documents, they're gonna make sure it's squared away, and then from there you're gonna be good. You're gonna start getting your money. If for some reason you do not, and you're in a situation like me, right? If you have to enlist that child or that dependent as enroll them in the DEERS as a dependent after you're already in the military, at that point you're gonna be playing catch up, but you also gonna miss out on money that you could have had and time. And at that point, ain't nobody really gonna give a fuck for real. You know what I'm saying? It's not that they don't care, because the military does pay you and wants to make sure they support you and your family, but everything from reception to your unit, it's not really, nobody's gonna be really antsy to do it. The NCOs in basic ain't worried about taking you to DEERS or the financial to get your money straight. As long as you're getting your regular check, they ain't really got no extra push to try to get that out the way. You're gonna find some NCOs that do care and they're gonna try to make sure you're good, but there's gonna be some that don't, because it's not technically your job. When you get to your unit, it's not technically their job. When you get to your unit, they do have an obligation to make sure that you squared away financially. Now, they will tell you that you can get, if for some reason you enroll your dependent later on, after you already are enlisted in the Army, and you enroll your dependent into DEERS later on, somebody will probably tell you that you're gonna get back pay. That may be true, but specifically to single dads who have their child listed as a dependent, if you're not already sending home a certain amount, it's a possibility you're not gonna get that back pay. So for instance, if you was in for 4 or 5 months and you sending home a certain amount, and then you finally get to your unit and you try to get everything squared away, and they say, hey, you should have been sending this amount, but you were sending $100 less. We can't back pay you, but we can go ahead and start making sure you get the pay that you're supposed to get going forward. Make sure you understand and you do your research so that you know there's a minimum amount that you're supposed to send back home for support. I was not aware at all that there was a minimum amount. I was sending an amount, but I wasn't aware that there was a minimum amount, and that if I wasn't paying that or sending that minimum amount, that I wouldn't get back pay for the money I already sent, even though it might have been a little bit shorter than the amount that I should have been sending. Right now, caveat: I don't know nothing about being on legal child support. That's not my situation, so I don't know if that changes. I don't know how that works if you are legally on child support, because even then, I think you have to. The way I understand child support to work, you probably got to get taken off child support to even have a child listed as a dependent anyway. But nonetheless, I can't speak specifically on like how it will work if you're legally on child support. But for me, I'm blessed to be in a situation where me and my co-parent, we just do what we need to do. I ain't got that going on. But just know if you're doing it on the back end when you're already in, you need to know your minimum amount. You need to make sure you are doing specifically bank-to-bank transfers. No Cash App. I wouldn't even do Zelle or none of that. I would just go ahead and your bank, get their bank information, set it up, do the transfer. It's going to take 2 to 3 or maybe 3 to 5 business days, whatever, depending on your bank. Go ahead, just let it go that way, because then you have the correct amount and you have the proof that you have been sending support back home to your dependent, and then you can better your chances to get reimbursed for the money that you are sending. Also, really this is the biggest point I meant to say at like the beginning of this video. If you do it in the beginning, you ain't got to worry about half this other stuff I'm saying. But if you got this far in the video and you do it while you're already in, whether it's after basic or if you went, FSPC, whatever you're doing, don't let them folks tell you you can do it on paper. If it's BAH related, dependent related, whatever, that document needs to be done digitally on the computer and uploaded in their system, whether it's Dear system, financial system, whatever, and signed off on and executed that way. Do not let them print off a copy and you waste your time and you handwrite the copy and you go get it signed off by your commander by hand and all that, and I mean, you still got to get it signed, but it needs to be a digital copy, not handwritten, because they just gonna kick it back. I was told at one base, handwritten was cool. It never got. I did it by hand, sent it up to my S1. Apparently, it never went through. Got the AIT, did it again. I did it digitally that way, but then at that point in time, I guess it didn't get signed off on the by the commander or whatever, or even if the S1 there. I don't even know if the AIT unit technically had an S1 for sure. But either way, didn't go through the proper channels for whatever reason, didn't get done, and then I still didn't receive my BAH. So now here I am, officially at my unit, going through it. Did it again because they said they never had my form. The 5960 form is for your BAH, and the 1172 is for DEERS and enlisting your dependent in the DEERS. They said they didn't have my 5960. I redid it by hand, got my commander to sign it. Just got kicked back saying I got to do it again digitally. Now, I did hear some people ask like, hey, is this supposed to be digital or by hand? I got back and forth, so I wasn't sure. I know now for an absolute fact, don't let nobody print off no copy for you and tell you you can do it by hand. They're going to kick it back. Go ahead and get it done digitally and do what you need to do, because otherwise it's just going to be a waste of time and a run around, and depending on your situation, it's going to put a hole in your game. So yeah, do it first before you enlist. If you got to do it later, make sure you have the proper amount being sent home. Make sure you have the proper forms, 5960, 1172. Make sure you're doing bank-to-bank transfers, and make sure you got all your documents you need for your little one and your dependent, man. Anyway, next time.